Hello everyone, welcome back here to the channel. My name is Scott. It's great to be here. Today I want to focus on 4 words basically that sometimes pose problems for students for translation or expressing these words, the purposes of the ways to express these words in English, because sometimes they can be quite difficult. In fact, there are quite a few words that may be difficult to translate in English easily. Probably you're familiar with Yoroshiku o願いします, so that's a little bit difficult to put into a direct English translation. And the 4 words that I've chosen today, which are similar in a way, and sometimes when students want to express these words, it could pose a problem. So that's what I want to talk about. The words are senpai, kohai, shakaijin, and also doki. Doki as far as starting at the same time. Let me get to the senpai kohai first. Now, sometimes the easiest translation, but not necessarily correct translation, would be a senior. Sometimes a senior is okay, but basically a senior in English is an elderly member of society. Like a senior may be over 65 in America. That's the basic one. So it's difficult to use senior for many situations. So that's what I want to talk about with senpai for the usage. Now, if it's at a work situation, just simply enough, you could just be an older colleague, older than me. Doesn't mean an old person, but older than me. Started working here before me. If you need to get to that situation to explain that he's my senpai, which is not necessary in English, just my colleague or coworker is fine. But if you want to get to the difference in starting before me, then in that case would be older colleague is a possible way. If I give it in a sentence, so just that he started working here 2 years before me, or he joined the company 3 years before I did. That kind of gives the idea that's an older colleague, and that is not necessarily 1 word or 2 words for senpai, but it kind of gives the idea that the person is an older colleague. That's one way to do it. Now in school, just this 1 word only can mean upperclassman. Upper class woman may be possible as well if it's female. Men, in that case, it's going to be 1 person, and upper class men would be more than 1 group of people. So an upperclassman. That's if you give it in 1 word. Now, a more common way to say it would be, for example, she was a sophomore when I was a freshman, which means sophomore is the 2nd year, and I'm a freshman, my 1st year, so 1 year ahead of me. So she was a sophomore when I was a freshman. Or she was the year ahead of me. In that case, I was a freshman, she was a sophomore. In a sentence form, it's possible that way. And just, were you in the same class together? No, we were not in the same class. She was a sophomore when I was a freshman. Okay? And that's a school situation. Let's go the opposite way now. So senpai, and the opposite would be kohai. Just kind of put those English words in reverse. So in the work situation, a colleague or a younger colleague, younger than I am, started here after me. So in a sentence in that case, so he started working here 2 years after me. Or she started working here the year after me. So in that situation, I would be the senpai and she or he would be the kohai. But younger colleague or just a work colleague is fine as well. You don't have to get to the age part, just my colleague. In English is most times fine. You don't have to get to the older or younger senpai, kohai. Now the school situation, before I mentioned senpai as an upperclassman, so opposite would be an underclassman. So if I'm an older student and this person is an underclassman, 1 person underclass men, and group more than 1 underclass men, M-E-N as well. And the same idea in the, I was a sophomore when he was a freshman, or I was a senior when she was a junior. That's the school situation. Now, just want to, as I gave you some school situations here, I just want to make sure you get the idea that a 4-year university or a 4-year high school, the 1st year is going to be a freshman, 2nd year, sophomore, 3rd year, junior, and 4th year is a senior. In that case, senior works well. So Next year, my son will be a senior in university, which means he's in his 4th year at university. If you have a 3-year high school, cut the freshman, just go sophomore, junior, and senior if it's a 3-year high school. If it's a 4-year high school, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And just a language note here as well, not so common to use freshman in a company. So it's understandable, but I wouldn't really say he's a freshman, meaning his 1st year at that company. I really wouldn't use freshman in that regard. I'll stick to the school for the freshman. All right. That's my senpai and kohai situation. I hope you got a good understanding on that and how to use that and how to understand that if you do come across this in a movie or a conversation. Next up, I'd like to work on the word shakaijin. That's a difficult one. Now, if I translate that, member of society, anyways, but it's not really commonly used to say he's a member of society. So everybody's kind of a member of society unless they're locked up in prison. So it's not really a common thing to use. So I would say that pretty much the person's a shakaijin, probably working. So a sentence that case. So she graduated last year and now she's a member of the workforce of the country's workforce. So she's working at a company or a shop where she's making money. So she graduated last year and now she's in the workforce, the country's workforce or the company's workforce. Workforce being the whole group and unit of workers. That would be the most common one. But you don't necessarily have to say anything translate directly on shakaijin, because just that he's in school or he graduated or he's working. So which case is it going to be? He graduated last year, he's working now. That's enough to designate that the person is no longer a student and is now working in society. All right, and one more I wanted to put up is doki. That's quite common in Japan, and it's quite a strong society of the people that you started to work with. And you can't really say 1 or 2 words what that would mean. So basically, just make a short sentence. We started working here the same year, or we started working here the same time. And that's enough. So. Or just, he's my coworker. He's my coworker. She's my coworker. We started working the same time. So we're pretty close because our doki is very firm in our feelings for each other. So just start at the same time. Same for school. So we were in school, we graduated school the same year, or we were in the same class. That's enough as far as the school situation and the work situation. So keep it to the same. So we started working here the same year. We joined the company the same year or the same time. That's perfectly fine. We went to school together. We were in the same class. We were in the same year. We graduated from the same year. Then you got it. Hopefully you got it. If you don't get it, why don't you ask me? And if you got any questions or any other questions or any comments, please feel free to leave them below. We'll gladly answer and help you with anything that you do need. Once again, everyone, thanks very much for watching. Thank you for being here. We'll be back here again soon. Until then, have a great day.